Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, we mentioned this year on GPS, just a week or so ago, we have a new director here in Oregon, the ODFW Director. We're super proud to be able to say that we supported that, right? That it was out of the options that we have.
Yep.
Oh, God, and again, I'm going to do everything I can to not get in trouble. Out of the options that we had, this worked out pretty good. Tell us about her and what the CCA's take. Why did the CCA back her?
Well, Director Colbert, Debbie Colbert, is the new director at ODFW, and Kurt Melcher, who's been the director for quite some time, stepped down. And so our choices were, Debbie is a agency person, somebody who's been at ODFW, and people that I know, that I work with closely, that I respect at ODFW had a very solid opinion of her. Not that she's going to be a pushover one way or the other. She's not going to be, you know, super pro hunting or pro fishing, but she's not going to be anti either. She recognizes the fact that, you know, sport fishermen and hunters are the biggest stakeholders at ODFW. We fund the agency more than anybody else does.
Yeah.
There's no argument about that, and we need to be listened to. So this last topic we're going to get into in the next segment, I think will get her attention, because just in the last few weeks, ODFW has reached out to CCA and said, we need to start having conversations about the budget shortfalls we're going to be coming up against. So that means they're coming at us with their hands out and want to get in our wallet. Well, with this little stupid move they just made on the Columbia River, it's going to be pretty hard to get us to agree to a fee increase.
Well, now, that buck doesn't end with her, though.
No, but the director has a bit to do with it, quite a bit to do with it. I mean, the Columbia River Compact makes that decision. And, you know, this whole, we're going to start just drifting right into that whole topic. But
well, let's stay here. So Debbie knew she's coming into, I'd call a buzzsaw. I mean, maybe that's overstating it a little bit, but it is absolutely, it can't be easy, right? Bill Monroe Jr. stood here many times and said, there's no way in the world I would ever want to have to make these decisions or be the final say, because it's very difficult. We all want to complain this and that, and I'm right there with you, okay? And it's easy to do that. But there's a lot of things going on, from the feds to different states arguing back and forth, and people that are, quite frankly, have their own personal agendas. You know who you are. So I hope her all the best, honestly. Yep. We have an opportunity to actually interview her here in a little bit. I'm excited about that. I want to get her perspective. But yeah, when they're asking for our money, and then on the other side of the face, they're saying we're going to add more predators and take more opportunity and put commercial kill net fleets on the main stem Columbia, it's really hard as a user group to go, okay, I'm going to pay, as a born and raised Oregonian, $300 and some odd so that I can hunt and fish here in Oregon each year.
Right.
It's hard to get us to do that. You know, again, Washington, they're introducing brown bears. We talked about this prior to the show starting. That same week, they put out a huge ad begging for your money so that you could put in for your tags for big game. Well, now they're eliminating some of those big game. I mean, so this whole thing is very, very difficult, okay? So I wish her the best.
Yep.
And don't put the blame on her, because I get those messages.
We're looking forward to working with her, and I'm sure this was not something she was expecting to have on her plate.
Well, and what we're referring to is they did open up the Columbia below Bonneville. We have 3 weekends, I believe it is, and on the 20th of this month, they're going to go ahead and put the commercial kill net fleet on the main stem Columbia. This is insane, man.
It is insane.
I mean, every single...
To me, it's a complete slap in the face to the agreements that we made. I mean, we pay our $975 fee. We pay our Columbia Basin endorsement. Yeah. Generates about $1.5 million a year. That's making fish that are going into the terminal areas. Guys in the terminal areas, the commercial fishermen in the terminal areas are having epic record catches.
By a long shot.
Over 7,000 fish this year, compared to about 6,000 for the entire sport fleet all the way to Idaho.
Right.
So it's not like they're not getting theirs, but what they've done is say, okay, we had unused impacts, meaning we didn't kill as many wild fish as we would have been allowed to, because we're fishing in these off-channel areas. And if you kind of pay attention this year, we didn't have high water events.
No.
When we have a high water event, the water pushes into the terminals, just like fish do anywhere, they pull off into a side channel.
Sure.
And so on years that it's a muddy river and a high river, the terminal areas fish dirty. They have, you know, too many wild fish in there. This year they didn't have that.
Right.
So they had some impacts left over. So they said, look, we're going to go use them on the main stem. Time out. These dollars should not be spent at this store.
Right.
I mean, when you have impacts left over from the terminal areas, they should never, ever be used on the main stem, in my opinion.
Sure.
And that's not just my opinion, that was the policy that was passed.
That's what we were promised at the time, and it's like they go, oh, no, we're not going to do that this year. We're going to do something different.
If you read the policy, it says the main stem Columbia River is for selective recreational angling. That's why we all go through barbless hooks and we don't take a fish out of the water before releasing them. We're doing all these things to try to improve wild fish survival and do selective harvest, take the hatchery fish, let the wild fish go spawn. That's what we're all about. And they said the terminal areas are for you guys to get your economic value. The main stem is going to be for sport fishermen to do selective recreational harvest.
Right.
That was the agreement, and this is not the agreement.
No, it's
But
not.
it's all been driven, honestly, candidly. I don't live in Washington, so I don't care. I can throw rocks at them. But the Washington Commission has driven this whole thing.
Right.
A couple of years ago, they tried to force ODFW Commission to increase the allocation to the commercial guys for spring Chinook. Well, you can see very clearly why they were trying to do that, because they want to put them back on the main stem.
Yeah.
You know, our position has been they don't go back on the main stem. You know, we will pay the fee, we'll make the hatchery fish, we'll put them in the terminal areas, but we're not going to have them back on the main stem for spring and summer. Now, the Washington Commission is the ones that allowed the fall through adaptive management at the end of that first 4-year policy.
Kind of beat it.
It's all been coming from Washington, honestly. So Washington said we want to give our guys 30%. Oregon said we're not going above 20%. So that left 10% unresolved, and those fish had just been kind of sitting on the shelf off to the side. And so that's what they did this last week. Is they said, hey, how about we give you back those 10% that we stole from you, and we give you a few weekends of fishing. Oh, by the way, we're going to have this gillnet fishery, which makes absolutely no sense. If you're talking about economics, we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to cover that. Right when we come back, let's pick up with what you're referring to.
You bet.
Right? Because when you're talking about a commercial fleet that catches 10 or 12 fish.
Right.
The look is horrible. Is it really worth that look to Oregon and Washington? I mean, Washington obviously doesn't care what they look like, because it's embarrassing. We'll be back with Bruce Pauly from the CCA Oregon in just a minute.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.